What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel. It's Thursday today. Tonight is Zayin Adar, which is a good night to pray. Big night in Meron, but not this year. This year is probably going to be very quiet because of Corona and also the weather. It's been snowing up here for the last few days. We had some snow in Tzfat and in Meron. Now it's all gone, but they don't want people coming because of Corona, and the roads are still a bit dangerous. But anyway, it's a big night. Moshe Rabbeinu's yard site and birthday, and it's a big day in Meron. It's a big day in Breslov. It's a big day by Chassidim. And but anyway, we're gonna read. I just wanted to say that, but also we're gonna read some stories about Purim. This is actually the second time making this video, because the first time I picked some stories without reading them, and they were a little too out there, I think, for the topic. But we're talking about erasing Amalek's name. This week is Parsha Zachar, all that. So we're just going to read some stories about that on Purim that have to do with Purim, have to do with Megillah, have to do with Adar, about erasing Amalek. Going to be 2 short stories and 1 long one. Okay? So it says over here, it says that it's known that when we read Parsha Zachar, so we read the words Timcha as Zecher Amalek with 2 different nekudos. They go back over it. First I'm going to say Zecher Amalek, the first I'm going to say Zecher with a segel, and then they also read it again with a tzere, which is Zecher, right? That's what the minhag by most places is today. It says over here that the Goyin of Vilna, the Vilna Goyin, and also the Admor, the Baal Tzemach Tzedek of Lubavitch, they only read it with a segel. They only read it with the zecher part, because since the word zecher is close to the word Amalek, which is right after it, az tzarich likra b'segel. So you need to read it with a segel. And I'm not sure if that's a diktuk rule or why that is, because I'm really bad at diktuk, but they say that since the word Amalek is right after this word, so then you need to read it with a segel, and you read it as zecher. Right? But already in their time and until today, the minhag is to read it twice with different nekudos, segel and seri, because we have to show that we're not going to read it with a kamatz, which is zachar, because we don't want to remember, right? Like I guess if you read it with a kamatz, so it's like you are remembering them. And like I said, I'm really bad at diktuk, so I don't know exactly why, but we have to erase Amalek completely. And this was already a Maisa by the Goyen of Shneir Zalman of Lublin, the Baal Teres Chesed. At one time by Parsha Zachar, the Baal Kori asked him, "Do I read it with a tzere or a segel?" And he said, "Zecher, whatever it is, just erase the name good." So besides for reading it, we read it with these things, and we have these minhagim, but the real avodah is also inside, that you need to actually erase the Amalek inside, spiritually, mentally, all that stuff. Okay, the next story. The next story is a little minhag over here, that the Chassidim, the Vorka Chassidim of Rav Yitzchak of Vorka, it says over here that they were noig to learn the whole entire year Masechtas Megillah, because by learning Masechtas Megillah, Rav Yitzchak Vorka told them that they are being mekayim the mitzvah of Mechias Amalek the whole entire year. Because by learning Megillah, and you have power, the power of the Megillah, you're learning Masechtas Megillah, you're learning about Purim, that is what is destroying Amalek the most. And if you do that the whole entire year, so then you're being mekayim the mitzvah, not just with Parsha Zachar once a year, not just by Purim or Keren Megillah, you're doing it every day. And also, another related note, that on the mitzvah of Mechias Amalek, the Rav Kodesh Avram Bornstein, who was the Avnei Nezer, said, Avnei Nezer of Sakachov said, in the name of his father-in-law, the Kotzker, he said that learning the Ran in the back of the Gemara, like you learn the Ran, is also being mekayim the mitzvahs of Mechias Amalek, because Amalek is akum ukam. Amalek is crooked, and learning the Ran, the Kotzker says, straightens a person out. So therefore, when you learn the Ran, you're straightening out yourself and you're making yourself not crooked like Amalek, and therefore you're destroying Amalek. I read somewhere else over here also that says that when you give money to Eretz Yisrael, Purim, then you're what's it called? Then in the month of Adar, and also giving tzedakah to Eretz Yisrael on Purim is also the Indian of Mechias Amalek, because Amalek's whole thing was to get the Jews to. They wanted to stop them from coming to Eretz Yisrael. They left Mitzrayim and they're like, we're going to go to Eretz Yisrael, and they're like, no, you're not. So by giving money to Eretz Yisrael, by giving to poor people in Eretz Yisrael, you're doing the opposite of what Amalek wants, and therefore you're erasing them. So that's that. Okay, so those are the first two things, three things, whatever. Now we're going to read a little bit of a longer-ish story. This is my first time reading this story, so I have no idea what's going to happen. I hope this one is not as wild as the first video I was making, where the story was way out there. It says over here, the day of Purim, the Rav Pinchas of Koretz would be noig to speak about the greatness and the preciousness of the Bnei Yisrael, like versus the other nations of the world, right? Kimoi kain oyimatar el shiltainum shel koiches hakadusha mul koiches atuma v'klipa shnasu zelu mazeh, right? And also that not only in the physical world but also in the spiritual world, there's different klipas from different nations, and we're fighting against them and all these different things, right? And while he was talking about this, he also told over a story. He said like this: he said, in the city there was a certain city where there was a koimer, a priest, who was also a mechashef, a black magic guy, who whatever, Russia, who hated Jews, and he used to use his magic to harm the Jews, and his potions and his things, whatever it was, to hurt all the Jews who lived around him. And there was, in that same city, there was a very, very Pashit Yid, Pashit Yehudi Talmud Pashit, right? That he ran a base maziga, a wine house where people drink, whatever, like a little kretschmer, right? And that's where he made his parnasa from all the different farmers and the shikarim and everybody, right? And this koimer mechashiv, this priest magician dude, would always also come over there and drink in his little bar situation. So one time, this simple Jew, he started thinking, and he came to a conclusion that he should also learn the chachmas hakishuv, magic, because then, right, he could steal this power from the koimer, and also fight against the Jews that he was fighting against, right? And this koimer, fine. So he said, okay, fine. Next time that the koimer comes to the bar, I'll speak to him. So the koimer came, and the Jew asked him. He says, "How much money do you want for you to teach me the chachmas hakesem v'hakishuv?" So the koimer says, "If you give me to drink 3 years free, right, I will." However much I want to drink for 3 years. How I will teach you over that time. I will teach you also the chachmas hakishuv. So the Jew said okay, and they agreed to this, right? Oh, so after those 3 years that he's going to drink, so then the Jew will come to the koimer and says, okay, I let you drink for 3 years. However much you wanted. Now it's my turn to fulfill your deal. Give me and teach me chachmas hakishuv. Right? So the koimer smiled. Of course, something weird is going to happen. He said, "Yeah, you achen kenes milasi akayim v'divrei leishana." So he said, "Okay, I'm going to fulfill my words." Right? And what? Okay, so he said, okay, fine, I'm going to teach you magic, right? So the koimer said, hold on to my belt, right? And the Jew held on to the belt of the koimer, and the koimer threw this Jew a very, very far distance to a very desolate place. Like he transported him into some crazy different world, whatever. Just like a very, it says, Al Makom Tzia V'Shemema B'Tayu L'Yal Yishimun Asher Seirim Yerkedusham. Right, and he was on top of a mountain, like in this deserted desert, something out of like a horror movie type situation. And he was standing on a very tall mountain, and the claimer was there with him, and he said, okay, he said, here you will learn the Chachmas HaKishuf, and then he just disappeared. This is like straight up movie stuff, but this happened in real because the Rav Pinchas of Koretz is saying it, so it's cool. So this Jew was now alone in this desert, all alone, right? And he realized that right away. He realized that this mountain that he was standing on was actually surrounded by a gigantic snake. He never saw like anything like that in his life, right? And then he realized that the place that he was actually standing on was not actually land. It wasn't Admas Kodesh Ela Makom Mishkan HaChitzonim Eretz Asher Lo Yavar Ba Ish. People did not come to this land. Men, humans. So that the claimer brought him to the mountains of darkness, or the Shadamar and stuff like that. So when he was sitting there thinking, he's like, yo, I just got myself into this situation over here. It's not such a good situation. And so the snake saw him and he started talking to him. He says, what are you doing here? And what do you want? And this Pashi had said, he said, I came to learn Chachmas HaKishuf. Talking to the snake. So the snake told him. So the snake asked him, and where are you from? From which country? And the man answered, I'm from the country of Poland. And the snake says, right? He says, now you have to forget this, right? And he did, and he said, okay, fine, I forgot where I'm from. Whatever, it doesn't make a difference where I'm from. Okay, fine. And the Nachash again asked him, from which city are you? And after he answered him, he also said, you have to forget this too. And he did this, and he forgot it. And then the Nachash asked him, the snake asked him, do you have a father and a mother? And he said, yes, of course. So then now the Nachash said to him, forget your father and your mother. Right? And he had to do this because he's standing in this crazy world with a snake. Now it's the size of a mountain. Right? And the snake kept on asking him all certain details of his life from his family and everything. Right? And he said to forget everything, and he did everything, right? So and then he said to him, and the Nachash still wasn't happy. The Nachash was like, fine, from which nation are you? And he says, I am from the Jewish nation, right? From the sons of Av, Mitzvah, and Yaakov. And the Nachash said, this you have to forget too, that you're a Jew. Right? I think like he did it like fake. He was like, yeah, I forgot it, don't worry about it, I'm a Jew. And the man said, Ani oived es Elokei Av Mitzvah Yaakov Asher Baras Shema Mizaretz Chol Piro Mata Machuzi B'chol Mashalom V'Uzim 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 As Tzivu Lo V'Nachash Lo Games in Yerizah. The snake said, forget that too. So now when this Jew saw that he was mamish standing on the last point of his Yiddishkeit, he's going to forget Hashem, forget the Torah, forget that he's a Jew. He's a Munach Hashem, Gam Oisahu, that he's going to forget this, that the last thing he's going to forget everything. So he got very like shaken up, and the holy spark inside of him started to shine and to heat up and to explode, right? He said, I will not, he says, whatever it is in this world, wherever I am, I will not give up on my emunah in Hashem. Right? Whatever it is, I don't care, I will always believe in Hashem. Right? He said, and he was makabel on himself that he's going to be moiser nefesh right now at this second. Right? He realized he was in a very bad place. He said, I'm not going to give up on Hashem. And he started screaming out, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And this big snake opened up his mouth and says, V'chima abed ates atzmecha ladas. Haliteda ki achshav ata masr b'yadenu. When you choil masas imcha kifatzin. He said, what are you doing? Like, why you're going out of your mind? He said, now you know that you're in our hands. We can do whatever you want. That's what you just said. Doesn't make a difference. You said, as long as you believe in Hashem, so I'm gonna do whatever I want to. Same Cain, right? So therefore, muchrachat l'shmaya b'kolein. We have to listen to our voices, and you have to do whatever we say. And he said, no, I don't want to be kaifer in Hashem, and he just started screaming Shema again. Pitoim. Gigantic animals just started coming towards him, like just with huge numbers of them, herds and herds, thousands of animals. Ad in cheker, like you can't even imagine, right? And they were all running towards him from all directions. You saw millions of animals stampeding towards him. This guy is like, it's like a dream. But he didn't care. They're all going to come and attack him and trample him, whatever. But he didn't care. He said, "I'm doing what I'm doing," and he screamed out, "Shema Yisrael." But they all got stopped. They were not able to come close to him, right? And when they all came closer to him, they were all in this battle, and they just disappeared into thin air. So something big is going on over here in the story, right? Then all of a sudden, more herds and thousands of different types of animals, also snakes and scorpions and all types of creatures were coming towards him, right? But again, they were all in this battle, and they came close to him when he said Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, right? Wow, I think this is. It says L'Besoif, they came close across from him. Chazire Yar Hayarkin, the green forest dragons that have fire coming out of their mouth. What? Avahakol Hayel Loy Hayel, like even these dragons were not able to come to him. Hayudi Amar al Shaloi v'Chazar v'Shina Yisem Hashem Lakin Hashem Echad. Kacham beGevura Iloi Zman Rav Ad Shakon is battle Rosh Ein Kan Loy Har v'Loy Nachash. Everything was in this battle in front of him, and he kept on screaming until he said that there was no har, there was no mountain, there was no snake, right? And he found himself standing in middle of a field, like next to his house, whatever. He wasn't standing next to his house. He was standing in a field somewhere, but he wasn't in this crazy world, right? When he saw this, the Jew obviously wanted to go to his house, but he didn't know where he was. So he started going to anywhere he went, and he went from city to city, from kfar to kfar, and he stood and he was on the way for 3 years, until he came back to his house, right? And after, everybody was obviously very happy to see him, healthy and everything, right? So this man went to the priest and he started screaming at him. He says, "What do you do this to me for?" He says, "Why did you lie to me and bring me to this faraway place, right? This Menachem and Talmavis, and you also didn't even teach me the Chachmas HaKishuv." So the Kaimer said to him, he says, "You think you need me? You already saw that you yourself are a great nechashik. Shkein b'voy leveischa b'boiker b'shas shenatalti yodecha riti shenaflu me'etzboisecha klipos v'chitzaynim harugim la'alafim u'lervavis." He said that one morning I came to your house and I saw that when you were washing your hands in the morning, I saw that thousands of klipos and chitzaynim, or dark energies and bad things, were falling off of your fingers. Gam be'es shalvashta sabeged meruba. When you put on your tzitzis, thousands of levels of tumah were falling off from you, mazikim and all these bad things. And he said, "Me, I'm a kohen, I know Kishav, I can't even do that." Right? So Mishum Ken Olichachta Menachem Hahu Mishkan Tzin Gdei Shomai Right? So I brought you there to show you that to show there, that's where the Chachmas Akishav starts, because that's the source of it. But really, you already have it, in you, because you were able to be in the spot of everything. And afterwards, this man came to Rav Pinchas of Koretz, and the Rav Pinchas of Koretz, Al Hashem Yisbarach Chayav Be'ezroi Lamed Ben Yisoyin Mishkar Rav Koretz Al Roshai. And the Rav Kodesh kissed him on his head and he was very happy. We see from this story that the power of Yidden is much higher than any Baal Mechashiv, and it could destroy all the dark worlds and all that stuff. And that has to do with Purim, because he told it over on Purim. So that's how we have it on Purim. So remember that we have special koiches as Jews too. Like this Koimer said to him, is like when you wash your hands, you have mazikim. So we don't even know what we're doing. We're doing big things. When we do a pashut little thing of washing for bread or washing hands in the morning, there's also things happening, I think, that are like very spiritual that we don't even know. But this Koimer knew that, and that's what he was telling him. And that's why he brought him to that place to show him that you already know how to do all these things just by being attached to Hashem. And that's it. So I hope that made any sort of sense. And next week is Purim, so we'll see what happens next week with videos. But everyone should have a good Purim, and maybe we'll read a little bit about Breslau on Purim next week, and we'll see what happens. All right, bye bye.